There's no real practicality behind why I did this. This is a pure expression of creativity. I love working with my hands because I get to create. I'll get inspired by a piece of metal. Just by seeing it, maybe how it's made or what it's from, that will spark the creativity for me to give it a new life. I just wanted people to see how my mind works. All right, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications if you haven't done so already. Today I'm working on the Model A. This is the rear tail pan from the back of that Model A Roadster that I'm working on. The deck lid comes right down to here, that's where it is. Each quarter panel is here. This is an aftermarket piece that came on the car. We were gonna try and use it, but man, it's just too far gone. You know, it's solid, it doesn't have any rust, but it's really thin. It's like 20 gauge sheet metal, maybe it's thinner. I'm not sure, but I just don't like it. It's got no crown in it. It's been smashed a bunch of times to try and get some crown in it. The bead line itself at the bottom of this panel is not sharp. I feel like if I spend, you know, a few hours making a new panel, it's gonna save at least a few hours in body work and messing around for whoever's gonna body work the car. So I do believe it's worth it. I'll show you where this came from and why it must be replaced. Just pop it back in there. Now you can see that well, that's not gonna sit totally flat, but this body line is terrible. It's very soft compared to what a factory body line is supposed to look like. So that would be, you know, a nightmare for a body guy to do. The panel's just flimsy, it's kind of garbage, so we're gonna make a new one. Hopefully it'll be a little better than this one. Okay, so the first step to making any panel like this is we're gonna take a paper pattern of it. This paper pattern is gonna show us exactly our dimensions of this panel. Because it's flat paper, it will mimic a flat sheet. Anywhere where there's a little bit of a wrinkle or anything, we'll be able to see any bit of crown that it has, etc. Because it's so low, we probably won't be able to take much of the crown measurement from it, but we'll be able to tell how straight these lines are, that sort of thing, and measure out our edges and map out our bead roll with the paper. This is just super thin paper. I buy it on a roll from Home Depot. Kind of nothing special. So I'm gonna line up this edge just to make sure that that is straight. It looks straight, but you never know. It's nice to know that that's dead straight because we'll be able to use the brake to make that edge rather than having to tip it with a wheel. Okay, the dirty finger template, if you haven't seen me use that before, it's pretty handy and it's accurate. Just rub my finger right on the edge. It gives me a good line. Only really works on sharp edges. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how accurate this bead is. Like I said before, it looked pretty soft. So I'm gonna go measure the bead on the car and transfer it to this. So this car has one factory quarter panel and one aftermarket one. I always like to measure a factory one if I can. This side is factory, that side's aftermarket. So right here is the thickness that I want that bead to be so that I can know exactly on our piece that it is as stock as possible. So we'll transfer that over. Let's just actually compare it to this side. You see this aftermarket panel? The bead is actually a little bit smaller than a stock one. At least there's only going to be a little bit of filler to match that versus trying to match that whole bead. So now that we have our outside shape here, just kind of dirty finger templated, so to speak, that's all I really need from this right now. I can pop this off. Now I can go along and use my caliper to measure out this bead as best I can. Should probably solidify this line a little bit more. See how straight this one is. it actually is a straight line on this car. Okay, now I'm gonna measure my flanges. Say 900 thou, get a little less there, 750. This looks like a pretty fat one, about an inch. I'm gonna do a 1-inch flange on the bottom, and then 3/4 inch flange on the sides. And then we are gonna add a little bit over here where it curls over. Let's measure that. It's a little more than 3/8, we'd call it 400 thou. 400 plus 750 plus 1 inch. Okay, so today we're going a little bit thicker than stock. Stock is usually about 19 gauge from what I'm told. We can't get 19 gauge here. If you guys know a local Canadian supplier, let me know, because it'd be kind of cool to get actual 19 gauge. I've heard a lot of people talking about it in the States that it's hard to get now too, so no matter, 18 gauge works fine. Knock these corners out for sure. And we're gonna measure our 400 thou. The next thing we're gonna do is mark our bead roll. So we gotta find out what radius is on the car there. We wanna make sure that the radius is correct, obviously, so it matches the rest of them. I'm gonna go grab a gauge here. Here is a factory radius. There almost is no radius on the quarter that came in the aftermarket. There's a little bit of a radius here we can check. I'm just using this little radius tool. It's just a circle template from Office Depot. I'm just trying to match up what this radius is, because that is the radius that is gonna go on our next panel right beside it. And it looks to be, you know, a 1-inch diameter, so 1/2 inch radius is what we're gonna use. It's kind of interesting though, this is an aftermarket quarter panel on this side, and it almost has no radius. Kind of weird, hey? Right there. That's the aftermarket for you. Okay, let's make this panel. This is our bead roll line. All right, we're gonna go trim this out. Okay, next I'm gonna just knock these corners out for when we do our flanging. Okay, before we roll that, I want to put a little bit of crown in there. There really isn't much in this panel, and low crowns are not my strong suit, to be honest. I get a little wheel happy sometimes. The only thing I can really tell you about a low crown is that you just want to take it very slow. You want to start with very light pressure, check it a lot, make sure that you're not going too far. It's really easy to really want to see something happen and crank it tighter so you see something happen, but with a low crown like this, they're almost undetectable. You gotta wheel the crown in there and then maybe stick it back on a flat table and feel how high up you've got the crown. The crown is not gonna be very much with this thing, so I just gotta be careful not to wheel too hard. When you're wheeling, it's always important to keep everything pretty clean. You want your wheels to be clean. You don't want even dust to build up on there, because dust can actually attract other dust and make little nubs either on the panel or on the wheel that will transfer into your part. If you can imagine your wheel's wheeling and you've got a little dust nub sitting on your wheel or on your part and it keeps getting rolled over that, it's gonna stretch that little area and cause an imperfection. So I'm not saying that this is gonna be perfect, but we wanna give ourselves the best chance possible. So make sure you clean your panels with a little grease and wax remover. I had to sand these, they had a little bit of something on them, so we're just gonna give them a good clean. Okay, so very light pressure. Okay, now I don't know if you can really see that or not, but we've got our shallow crown in there. You can tell there's no crown because it's not sagging when I'm doing that. I didn't want to go too far. I think that I've got it. But if anything, I'm a little under. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna flange all these tabs and get our side contour, because there's a little bit of side profile into it. So we're gonna do these flanges to make them like that. And then once we give this thing a little bit more curve like that, you know what? I'm gonna throw the rubber on the top die here and give a little bit of form before we do those flanges. Might be a little bit much, but we will see. You can always take a little bit out, but it's about the same right there. Okay, this little bead roll here is gonna be a little bit tricky because it's so tight to the edge, which we are gonna break in a moment after we're done bead rolling. It might be a little bit tricky. We're probably gonna have to run over it a few times. It seems to taper a little bit as it turns into a harsh step for the straight section. So we're just gonna give it a go, see how we do. So I'm using a Eastwood forming set, tipping wheel, just trying to make this step up. Okay, that's our first go. Take it in for another. It's not looking bad. It does need to go a little bit deeper. It's definitely not the straightest line I've ever produced. It's off by a touch. I mean, it's really tough when you're doing something that deep to hold on to it. So I think I'm gonna get rid of this table. And we're gonna use probably what I should have used in the beginning. I'm gonna run a little depth stop here. Okay, that should keep us a little straighter. I mean, you really gotta look right down the line to see the little woggle in it, but it bugs the shit out of me, so I'm sure it'll bug the crap out of somebody looking at it. Okay, let's see if we can't make this thing dead straight. Hot diggity damn, we gone done it. Should have done that in the beginning. But anyway, we fixed it. Next up, we're gonna break our edges here. I just wanna go look at that, make sure our bead roll is deep enough. So this is the right, I would say, depth of step, but it looks a little bit sharper to me than what we've got going on here. So what we can do is we can tighten our dies a little bit so that the top and the bottom of this bead step get a little bit tighter and a little bit deeper. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tighten up the dies a little bit, get this top edge and bottom edge closer together so that it looks a little bit more like that. I think we can get it just a little bit better. So what I'm talking about is the gap right in between here. If you come a little closer, sweetheart, you can see right through there. That is essentially our step. And so what I wanna do is I wanna take this top die and I wanna loosen it off. I wanna get it a little bit tighter to the bottom die so that it makes a sharper step. Now we're gonna run it through once more and see how we do with that. Yeah, I think that looks much better. Let's go look at the car one more time here. So essentially, this is what we're trying to create here. Now this is still a wee bit sharper than what we've got, but we're definitely getting there. I think it is pretty pronounced. It's funny because this is shallower than what we've done and this is a little bit deeper than what we've done, so I'm not sure how much more I really want to do. Yeah, I think that's plenty pronounced enough. Okay, now we're gonna break this bottom flange. We're gonna break the top flange And then these side ones are gonna need a little bit of shrink from the shrinker stretcher foot operated machine. Okay, let's go do that. Christina thinks we should try one more time, so we're gonna try one more time. She's usually right, so. There are some limitations to the bead roller, but if we really wanted to get coach buildy with it, we would use a Pullmax type machine and make a die that's the exact profile. But I think she's right. I think we could probably get a little bit deeper. I'm just impatient. She's got all the patience. She must have a lot of patience if she's standing here with a camera, working with me every day. Now we will go bend it. Okay, we're gonna have to lose a tooth here so that we can do our final bend. All right, well, there we go. We're not done yet. You can see there's a nice bit of form and a little bit of crown in there. Now we've got to shrink these flanges a little bit just to get the sides to curve. And then we'll be able to check it on the car. If you haven't seen one of these before, it's a shrinker stretcher set. Basically, it pinches the metal and pushes it together. That's how it shrinks. It does the exact same opposite for stretching, so it's great for flanges. It's only really deep enough to do flanges. There are other ones of these that have a deeper throat that can go into metal a little bit more, but these ones are typically just made to do exactly what we're doing, shrinking and stretching flanges. I'm sort of just taking my time because I know, just like the English wheel, you can get ahead of yourself with this thing. After a few shrinks, we've already got a nice curve happening right there. We can check that with our panel. I don't exactly trust this panel, but it's close enough. So we're still a little shallow compared to this piece of garbage. We'll do the other side and then we'll go actually look at it on the car. Okay, let's go to the car, see where we're at. We're a little bit wide. This side's pretty decent. This side, the bend is a little bit off. Okay, I'm gonna go fix that. So although I'm not exactly sure what happened there, I may have made this flange a little bit too big and I didn't re-measure before I bent them, but this flange should have been a little bit further over at the bottom here. So I'm just gonna finish that up with a hammer. So I kind of moved this flange over a little bit and tried to rework our little radius there. We had a couple of little protruding corners there. No big deal. It's almost a friction fit. See, it's looking pretty good. Went a little bit too much on the curve. You can see how this is sticking out. I need to stretch that flange to flatten it out a little bit. This is a little bit high. So I'm gonna mark that right now, right about there. And on this side, we're looking pretty good. I'm very happy with that. That is way better, way better. I'm gonna go get the other one just to show you. Look at this old one. Look at the bead. Look at that bead compared to that bead. I don't even know how they made that, if they had to stamp it or what, but this is a real bead. Definitely thicker material than what this stuff is. We still have to put this piece on the inside, fold the rest of this lip over. We'll go take care of this right now and then take this piece out. So this is the stretcher. It does the same thing. As it pinches the metal, you see the jaws spread apart? That's how it works. So that one spot that we need on the flange to be flatter, we just jam it in the jaws here, right about there. You might even see it. Oop. Hopefully I didn't go too far. I felt that. Yeah, definitely a little bit too far. It's very easy to go more than what you need. Okay, let's go have a look at it now. Yeah, I'd say it's a lot better. Went even still a little bit too flat, but we'll take care of that in a second. Just give that a little bit more shrink. Okay, the final step to this is just gonna be removing this brace. I don't see any reason why I really need to remake it, so I'm just gonna steal it from this panel. There's a few little tack welds on it. I'm just gonna bust those off, a couple of spot welds to drill, and then we'll be able to install that into our piece and fold our final lip over. Okay, there's a couple little spot welds here. Just gonna drill those out. Okay, folding over the lip. Why am I putting that on? Alrighty, now we can pinch this thing in here. Just gonna get rid of those marks, make it look pretty. All right, let's go have a look at it on the car. Ta-da! I think it looks amazing. All right, well that's it for making the rear tail panel section on that Model A Roadster. I hope you guys learned a little something. It was a little bit of a learning experience for me too. I mean, I've never made one of these panels before, you know, it's always a learning experience. So thanks everybody for watching Make It Kustom. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, click notifications. If you're local, don't forget we're doing the Twilight Drive-In. We're taking it over on Wednesday, September 29th. We're gonna do Metal Reborn, which is our documentary about the pickup truck. And then we're gonna do American Graffiti, and we're gonna do Christine back to back after that. If you're not local and you wanna see Metal Reborn, you can go online, the link is in the description, and you can purchase tickets to see Metal Reborn on September 29th with everybody else before it hits metalreborn.com. So if you wanna see it early before everybody else, don't forget to check out metalreborn.com. Thanks everybody for watching, have a great one, bye-bye.